We're looking for specific skill sets. And the interviews are really good at that. Demonstrating specific skill sets, right? And the second thing that they're good at is getting an idea of cultural fit, right?
Hey everyone, I hope you guys are excited about me. I get to host this today with Gus, and I don't care if you're a solo agent, a team agent, or brokerage. If you're not learning how to recruit, you should not run a business, because it's recruiting buyers, recruiting sellers, recruiting team members, right? Recruiting agent to your brokerage. So recruiting a skill that you should definitely know how to do or do better. So I'm excited to have you on here to hear all the things you get to share. Looks like it's streaming live now. So
okay, am I back now?
Yeah, I guess. Yes.
Okay, there we go. I swear I went on the wrong network. My bad. So
no worries.
I am back. Thank you so much, Long, for the intro. It's a really interesting topic, right? And one that I don't want to brag. But it's one that I have a lot of experience in. I have right now, today, right under 120 full-time employees on my team. 120 full-time employees. And we're in growth mode right now, actually. So tomorrow, I have a big hiring event. We're going to have 20 new candidates show up to the company, because you want to grow. It's not like because with a team that's my size, you need about 10, 15 people every month just to stay at 120 people, right? Because, real estate has that turnover. So if we want to grow, we got to we're bringing in 20. We brought 11 people last week. We're doing 20 tomorrow. We're probably going to do 20 the next week, because that's how much you need for growth, right? So my company, my team, myself, we do this a lot, right? We hire a lot of people, but as you scale, right? As you want to grow your team, I don't care if you're a 2-person team, you want to get to 3 people, or you're a 5-person team, wants to get to 10, or you're a team of 1 and you're looking for that first hire. It doesn't matter. You have to nail these principles, because the only way that we've been able to scale a company, a team to this size, is by being really, really purposeful about how we select talent, how we hire people, and how we onboard them into the company. We scaled it up, we standardized it, we made a big process out of it. But that's not what I talk about. I don't want to talk about building a 100-person team, 120-person team today. I want to talk about, what if you're just hiring for 1 role, right? You've got 1 opening on your team, and you've got candidates coming in. What should you do? And one way that I focused this question, I thought it was a good way, right? I went live in my own Facebook group a few weeks ago, and I said, skills versus experience, right? Because I see a lot of people struggle with that. That particular trade-off, right? Because you can say, should you focus on skills or experience? Well, I want both. I go, okay, well, let me frame the question a little bit differently, and I want to go deep into this today, right? I want to talk to people kind of what the dilemma is in real estate that we face every day when you bring in that buyer's agent, you bring in someone on your sales team. Maybe it's an ISA, maybe it's an admin, right? So I see a lot of business owners struggle with this skill, because building a team, which is hiring and training and managing, that's how you build a team. Hiring, training, managing, those 3 things is a superpower you need to develop. Otherwise, you're going to always be a team of 1, a team of maybe 2 people, and they keep switching out on you. It's high rotation. Why can't I keep the people? These people are lazy. I mean, there's always going to be a reason. There's always going to be an excuse, right? But I feel that the number 1 thing that we can control, which is in our control, is, do we know how to hire, how to train, and how to manage at a really high level, right? Can we do that? I think that's really, really important, and it's a key part of growing as a business, right? We are a people-focused business. We're a people-driven business. Real estate isn't software. I can't write a piece of code and have it be replicated 1 million times today, right? No, if I want to grow my team, I want to grow my staff, my sales team, I need to bring in great people. Right? So that's kind of where I want to start. Let's start that. I want to frame the conversation that way, Long. And Long, if you have any questions, I love you're representing the audience here, right? You are the viewer, you are the person. If you have questions, throw them out there. If people have questions, drop them in the chat. Would love to address those as we go along. But I'm gonna keep going, and if nobody stops me,
Hey, this is your show. I want to keep running. But before you run with this, I will watch for questions from people. But
okay.
You said it's so important, right? We're in the people business. So what people don't realize is you're working with people and you're also running a business. Whether you're looking for one person, 120 people, like you said, system run business, people run system. Once you have system process in place, you got to plug in the right people, because if not, you will have such a bad experience that you think you cannot hire anyone to do the job for you. You'll never give up that control, which means the saying, right? You're the admin until you have one. So this is why you need to learn how to hire and train. So I can't wait to hear all the tips.
Absolutely. And you bring up a great point, Long. I think when you start off as a solo real estate agent, you are the admin. You are the ISA. You are the transaction coordinator. You are the showing assistant. You are the listing agent, right? You are the buyer's agent. You are all of those things. As you start to gain traction, as you start to figure out this lead generation activity, this getting clients, this closing deals, multiple transactions, you're like, okay, great. I think I have a handle on this, right? And it's time for you to delegate and to hand off those activities, which are not the highest return on investment activity, the highest cost per hour activity. My humble opinion, filling out information on the MLS, uploading data, publishing marketing materials, creating flyers, that is not the highest value activity you do every day as a real estate agent. Those are probably the first things you hand off. Getting a signed agreement and taking it from contract to close, the sequences of it, filling out the paperwork. You guys know what I mean, right? You gotta notify your brokerage, you gotta send it to review with your broker, gotta go send out the expense addendum, get it signed. Those things, another activity you hand off to either a transaction coordinator or to your administrative assistant. And then it's the lead generation activity, right? When you get to that level, we're trying to hand off some of those lead generation, lead conversion, fulfillment activities, which is showing homes, opening doors for folks, client experience, providing a great experience with clients. You start to hand off those as well. If you follow a team model, right? You start to specialize and hand off some of those, and you want to keep the highest value activities as long as you can. But even then, you're going to have to hand those off if you want to take your business, really, really take it to the next level. I think it's really, really important. But it's all of those things start with acquiring talent, training that talent, managing that talent. That's the game, folks. That's what the Jeff Bezos do really well. Bill Gates, Elon Musk's of the world. They are unbelievably good at hiring people, training people, managing people, and in those cases, massively delegating all the activities they have to do, right? They're unbelievably good at that. Yeah, they're really smart and they're really rich and all those things. But one thing that all of those people are masters at is getting great people on their team. I think that's a skill that is unbelievably important and that every single business owner needs to master, right? So let's get started. Let's take a really simple example.
Let's dive in.
I got this from one of my coaching clients. So I do consulting, coaching on the side. And we actually have we have a link at the bottom. If you guys want more information, you can check that out. But through one of these coaching sessions, one of my clients was hiring a marketing assistant. Really straightforward role. A role that probably everyone should outsource or hire out really early in their careers, right? Marketing assistant, data input, creating, flyers, creating all the graphics and posting them on social and posting the new listing and photos, all of these things that we do on a continuous basis. He wanted to hire an assistant to do that, right? Straightforward, very simple. He was having an issue. He said, Gus, I'm really struggling with this, right? The people, they never turn out right. They don't last. They're never what I expect. I'm always disappointed. I don't know what the deal is. So one of the things he was dealing with, and we kind of planted the seed for me for this whole conversation, is I said, you know what? Walk me through your process. I just tell me step by step. Don't leave anything out. And he was doing a lot of things right. He was putting out an advertisement. He was getting applications. He was reviewing those applications, scheduling interviews. But then we got to a really interesting part. And this was consistently what he was doing. He would talk to people in that interview process and go, okay, that interview, he would have a lot of confidence in his interview skills and his interview abilities. And he said, I came down to these two candidates. I can't make this up. These two candidates, one of them, seemed really smart and great, but they were really new. They were just out of college or out of school. Didn't really have a really thin resume.
So Gus, let's back up one step before you get those opportunities to interview people. Can you share how do you find those people first?
Oh, great. That's a great question, Mark. Thank you so much for being the advocate for the audience, right? So absolutely. When I tell folks, when you're adding people to your team, adding people to your staff, there's three main things you should do they go from completely costing zero but your time to the more expensive ones. Number one, you should call your database. It is a great reason to call every single person in your database and let them know, hey, Long, this is Gus with ABC Realty, and guess what? Things are going great. The company's growing. I need your help to find someone great for my team. Who do you know that I should know that's looking for an opportunity in real estate? That's a great call to make, because you're not asking them for business, you're not doing anything. It's just like checking in with them, staying top of mind, and they're like, man, Gus is doing awesome. Like, that's amazing. How do I help Gus out, right? So at the very least, you should do that call, because that's a great way to touch your database, right? And the best people that I've ever hired, even in the company that I have right now, 120 people, my key people, like my top 3-4 lieutenants in my company, they all came from my sphere. Let me repeat that. I have 120 full-time employees working all over the US and Mexico. My top, I think 3 people on my company came from my sphere because they knew someone that has a personal relationship or is related to me. That is, I'm not making that up. That's reality, right? So I really believe that reaching out to your sphere through your social media, right? Posting it out there for your friends and your sphere to see, letting people know that you're looking for talent is important, and it is an amazing way to get great people because they come to some extent vetted at least, right? Hey, if they're coming from someone that I like, love, trust, and know, like, holy cow, let me take a look at that candidate. Again, there's no guarantees, folks, in this business, but I like that they're coming vetted from someone that I know, like, and trust. That can be a huge plus in your business, right? So number one, call your database. Number two, I mentioned posting to social media, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. There's all kinds of groups specifically for hiring folks, right? If you want people locally in your community, there's a Facebook group for jobs in Topeka, Kansas, in San Diego, California, in Southern California. There's all these groups. Now recently, there's these massive groups for working from home if you're open to hiring virtually. Oh my goodness, there's all of these Facebook groups to hire people remotely. They're looking for remote opportunities. They might be, this is crazy. If you're on the coast in some of the larger cities, you can hire people from inside the country that are in a lower cost of living area. So this is an amazing opportunity for them. And you take that next step further, you can find people outside the US who are looking for opportunities in the US, right? So Facebook groups, you will not be disappointed. Facebook groups are amazing. I use Facebook groups to hire every single week. We are posting in the top Facebook groups for our industry. We're a call center for real estate. So we're always looking for people with sales experience, call center experience, all this kind of stuff, right? So we use that every single day. And the third one, this is the most expensive one, right? So that's why I left it at the end. Because usually if you want to hire, you have one open position, the first 2 are usually more than enough. Usually, right? To get a good, at least 5 qualified candidates, you can interview. But if you're not getting at least 5 qualified candidates, okay, go to the job posting websites, Indeed.com, Wise Hire, ZipRecruiter. You don't need more than those. That's like 80% of the country is covered by those job sites, and they're major ones, even outside the US, actually. Indeed is massive outside the US. Indeed, Wise Hire, ZipRecruiter.com. You don't need more, right? And if you want to take the ninja approach, like the samurai master approach, is you write your own job posting. You publish it to Google or Facebook or both, right? You're like, hey, I'm looking for a job. And again, this is it, for the people that are in the know. If you publish a job posting on Facebook, it falls under the special ads category, like real estate, same thing, right? So you can't do a ton of like demographic targeting yet. A lot of targeting tools are removed, but you can do skills-based targeting, right? If you want them to, let's say, I want them to like a certain computer technology. I want them to like a certain designer. I want them to like real estate, like Zillow.com or Realtor.com. You can do interest-based targeting, which I think is really, really interesting. And you can put it out there to the universe, right? those are going to be the lowest cost candidates you can find, and you're going to get a lot of them, right? So it goes from, I would say the easiest, calling your database, number one. Second on that spectrum, posting to Facebook groups, local Facebook groups, national Facebook groups, international Facebook groups. It's the same ad. It literally costs you the clicking the next button and posting it to the next group, right? Very, very easy to do. Third option is using the paid option, which is job sites or Facebook ads, Google ads, right? So those, I would say they go on complexity, they go from the easiest to the probably more complex, which is posting to Facebook and Google. So that's the spectrum. And that you should stop when you get at least 5 qualified candidates, at least 5. I like to do 10, but at least 5 qualified candidates. And by qualified candidates, I mean that you've read the resume at least. You've maybe had a conversation with them. They at least sound like they can be a good candidate, right? They at least, everything indicates that they're in the realm. That's what I mean. I don't mean 10 resumes and they're like completely oblivious to what you're even doing, right? I don't mean 10 submissions. No, I mean 5 qualified candidates that you can bring in to a longer interview, or even bring into the hiring process. So as soon as you get 5, don't go down to the rest. You're good. That's fine. 5 qualified candidates is all you need. Is the minimum you need for one open position. A lot of issues with hires, a lot of them is that people, and this is a really common issue. They're like, hey, Gus, well, you know what? I came down to 2, and this was the best one of the 2. Like, well, how many people did you interview? Well, 2. Like, well, yeah, you hired the best one of the 2, but none of them were any good, right? That's the problem. So you've got to like make sure you cast a wide enough net to find talent. Talent tends to be employed, right? Talent wants to be employed. Talent should be difficult to find. It's not easy to find talent. It's actually hard to find talented people, hard workers that are willing to do the job, join your team, and grow with you. It shouldn't be easy to find these folks. It shouldn't be. So you got to put a little bit of effort into that, right? And it starts, number one, with casting a wide enough net. You've got to cast a wide enough net to get at least those 5 qualified candidates, right? Not 5 submissions, folks, not 5 resumes. No, 5 people that look interesting enough that you would hire them. 5 of them, right? Because one might not work out. You go to number 4, you go to number 3, and then you go down the list. You might have to, right? So trust me when I say this, the power that you have to hire and mostly fire quickly, because that's another thing, Lon. A lot of people can really struggle with. They really struggle with letting people go that do not meet the bar, that are not a good cultural fit, are not a good skill set fit. They're just not a good fit for the team. They can struggle. Trust me, folks, if you have another 4 resumes waiting for you that you really liked, that decision becomes much easier. Like, man, let's get the right person in here. This person's gonna work out. Let's get the right person in here. Let's go. And if you have a larger team, not just hiring one person, maybe you have 2, 3, 4, 5 positions, then you have to get into the habit of interviewing people. This is just part of your job, right? Number 1 job of a leader are the right people on the bus. It's not the bus, it's not the direction, it's not the strategy. No, number 1 is actually getting the right people on your team is your first responsibility as a leader, right? And as the owner, right? So that's number 2. So Long, that's a pretty extended way to talk about it.
So let me ask some questions about sourcing these people, right? Number 1, your sphere one, I love that. I get these, sometimes people are like, well, but if I connect you with my cousin, my friend, and you don't like it, doesn't work out, I might feel bad to have to let go of somebody because they're cousins of the friend I really know. How do you address that?
That is that's such a good question. That's a really good question. So it's really important, especially on the sphere case. This is really, really important. So I think it's unbelievably important to have a really professional recruiting process, right? So when I interview someone and I put them through the process, I want to learn about them. I want to learn about their goals. I want to learn about their dreams. And let's say that we go through the interview process and they end up not being a candidate. I want them to go back and say, wow, that was a really good process. Wow, that was interesting. And I appreciate them. And I always give them feedback, right? That's another thing. Sometimes people let people go and cut them off and they ghost them as an employer. Don't do that, right? And especially don't do that with your sphere. And I never do that with your sphere. I would almost have a different process for my sphere candidates than for my people that I've never heard of and never heard of me, right? Honestly, it's that important. So I'm glad you brought that up because I want that process to be about discovery. right?
Yep.
And they want that process being about, hey, they can get something out of it as well, right? This is what I want. This is what I do. What interests you? What are you looking for? Interesting.
Okay.
That's great. If your process involves personality assessments, you guys pay for those. The employer should always pay for those, please, guys, and walk them through it. Use it as a tool that you're providing them. So even if you say no to them, it's going to be, hey, they got a lot out of it and was a great process. And wow, Justice looks like he's an amazing boss. I wasn't a great fit at the moment, but man, I'm going to find someone to help work for him. I have gotten candidates from people that we say no to because they recognize, holy cow, you actually have a real hiring process. You seem like to have it put together. I'd like someone to work with you, right? To make sure that's a good experience. That's number one, right?
Perfect. So then a follow-up question on the next thing on the social media, leveraging that. I love that. What people don't realize is also a great marketing tool to show you're growing. You're looking to hire somebody. It's like, man, these guys must be going places, right? And you get out there, but you're right. If you're not continuing hiring people, even if you don't need them, you always want to be ready to go. Now, you talk about the funnel a little bit. Like you start with this many, you want at least 5 qualified candidates to choose from. Talk me a little bit about the funnel of getting to there. What's some good tests besides personality tests? What's a good source for people to go through to use? That is a good test to use, that's inexpensive, that's easy to set up. What's your recommendation on a personality test?
That's a really good question. So what we use, which is very efficient, is we actually have people fill out a questionnaire first, fill out an application. It's not just click and send your resume. That's too easy to do. A lot of these job posting sites, they've got them automated. They don't even do anything to apply for a job. We actually we message them. You can do this on Indeed, on these platforms. You can message people with a link. It's doable. That's great. I need to actually apply for this position by filling out this questionnaire. That's how we've addressed that, right? And the questionnaire has really basic information, like, what are you available full-time, part-time? Do you have experience here? And I always put experience in my position, entry level, experience is not required, but I want to know if you have any. I do want to know. I want to understand that, right? I think that's right. And I'm going to get to that. We're going to talk about that a lot more forward. But I want to know, do they have experience or do they not have experience? Do they have, I don't know, a computer at home? Do they have internet connection at home? Some people don't, right? So I want to clarify some technical details. What's your internet speed? If you're hiring remotely, that is a big deal. It's a massive deal, actually, right? So what's your internet speed? Can you please upload a picture of that? Are they able to do that? Can they take a picture of their internet speed measurement and can they send it to me? That's like really basic computer skills that I want to vet for. I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way, right? So we have a questionnaire, and you can use a Google form, a Jot form. You can just Google online questionnaire forms, surveys, right? And it's very easy to do. We point them to that survey and go, hey, fill this out first, and then we'll talk afterwards. That's the easiest thing I can recommend. It's going to weed out a lot of the candidates who are just not interested that much in if they don't want to fill out that form, probably not interested in your position.
So then before you go into deep dive on really selecting the best one out of the 5 candidates you've now come up with, I want to make one comment about the virtual employees. Now with COVID, I've been doing it for 10, 15 years. With COVID assistant field, allow you to expand your search globally to get so much more talent, probably at a very affordable price because of where they live and the exchange rate. So something they should not shy away from the virtual assistant.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I would be open to hiring virtually, even within the U.S. I think it can be a great opportunity because there's a lot of folks that are very comfortable working from home, and now that it's time to go back to the office, they're like, let me see what's out there, right? They're past that. They're there. They're in the work from home mentality now, but their employer might not be. Guys, talent tends to be employed. Talent tends to be hired, right? Unless it's very, very early in their career, talent usually has another opportunity, but you got to come up with a better opportunity. That's my recommendation, right? I think virtual is one of those ways to kind of get your foot in the door for talented people that are not in a great situation and looking for something new. I think it's I agree, Long. I think it's an amazing opportunity within the U.S., especially outside the U.S. A lot of talent out there that speaks English very fluently, that's looking for opportunities, whether that's administrative, marketing, even sales, right? Which is what we PowerISA. That's why we exist. We help people make those connections from virtual ISAs into teams in the U.S. and Canada, right? So 100% agree with that. 100%.
Okay, so So I follow your direction that you give all the tip. I got 5 really good candidates. Now walk me through how do you make decision on the skill versus experience?
Great, that's awesome. So one of the things that's most important to understand is number one is understand the advantages and disadvantages of the interview process. That's I guess I mentioned before, it's one of the key mistakes people can make, right? That they fundamentally misunderstand what the interview is for. I see a lot of folks put 90% of their decision on the interview. Okay, this person is, I mean, they interviewed well, they interviewed poorly, you know, and this is it. And what's even worse, they take that decision into the first month, into the second month. No, this person was great. They interviewed great. What happened? I mean, you know, I'm sure they're going to work through it, right? And sometimes they can even ignore what's in front of their very eyes because I'm a great interviewer. Hence, I would make a mistake here. We have to give this person more time and more time and more time. And that's just not the case for almost any position. And we're focusing on entry-level positions here. Looking for entry-level positions, whether it's a buyer's agent, marketing assistant, admin, transaction coordinator, all of those tend to be entry-level type positions where you can take someone new and train them into the role. In those roles, you have to understand the interview is good for really 2 things, in my opinion, right? And again, someone that hires 20 people a week, the interview is really good for 2 things, at scale especially. Understanding really specific skill sets, their computer skills. Can they connect to Zoom? Can they send you information? I mean, but not like asking them and putting it in a questionnaire or having them fill out a form. No, seeing them do the activity, right? Hey, can you share your screen and show me whatever information that is? Hey, great. Can you open up Excel and do like a quick example of what we're talking about, right? Again, this is be very role specific, but for example, when we're hiring inside sales agents, we just want to see proficiency with like WhatsApp Messenger, Facebook, Zoom itself, right? The web conferencing tool itself to make sure, okay, this person understands computing, understands computers, they get it, right? And we want to test out their internet speed, want to have that conversation, share the screen, share the video. It's a non-starter for us to not turn on your video in an interview. Non-starter. If you don't have a webcam, use your phone, right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And if people in Mexico have phones with cameras, all over everyone in the U.S. has a phone with a camera, right? So it's not an issue. So we're looking for a specific skill set. And the interviews are really good at that, demonstrating specific skill sets, right? And the second thing that they're good at is getting an idea of cultural fit, right? Does this person sound like someone I'd like to work with, right? Are there any red flags they're giving off already? And that can be, you know, things like being standoffish, things like showing disrespect or showing arrogance around the offer. Well, you know, I was expecting way more, you know, but yeah, I'll give you guys a shot. That is a huge red flag for me. Like, they're doing me a favor by accepting this position. No, I want this to be a win-win, like a great opportunity for you. And if you're starting that way in the interview, we've got some issues, right? I think we're going to have a problem. So I think that's really, really important. I think the interview is great for both of those things. What the interview is not good at is understanding someone's values, someone's work ethic, and their grit. Grit. And by grit, I mean tenacity. I mean willingness to work hard, willingness to get past obstacles. The interview is actually very bad at that, right? Understanding those 3 things. Their values, are they a responsible, honest person? Are they a good teammate? Their work ethic, are they a hard worker? Are they just waiting for, 5 p.m. to clock out and we're out of here, man? I'm waiting for the weekend. And do they have grit? Are they going to get past it when they reach a problem, right? A challenge? Are they going to get through it? I have found that the interviews can even point you in the wrong direction sometimes for some of these topics. It's very difficult. It's not impossible to understand in the interview process. Almost impossible to understand, right? So understand those limitations. That's the game, Mom. Understand when you interview someone, you maybe have 30% of the decision done. You have 30% of the information you need, maybe 50% of the information you need. Best case, the information, right? It's very limited what you can understand there. The way that we complete the interview process, the selection process, is the first 30 days. That is the final phase of the interview. And that is how we frame it with our candidates. Great. You know, I've got those 5 people. I talk to all 5 of them. I review. I look at it. I go, okay, I would hire all 5 of these people. These are really good candidates. Wow, it's hard for me to decide. At that point, go with your gut. And I would always tell people, pick 2. That is what I would, and that's another recommendation we do. Because folks, come on, things happen. Life happens, right? They might not like the job. You might not like them, right? I would not spend time hiring someone if I only have 1 person training with me that day. It's an enormous waste of time, in my opinion, right? I would just have 2 people there, right, that are ready to go. They're both learning. And if one of them drops, this is very common in the virtual world, right? People that are working virtually, I don't know if you've seen this long, it's also very easy for them to leave a position now, right? So they just turn off their Zoom and turn off the camera, they're gone. Like, okay, bye. They might not even say goodbye. So I will always have that at least the 2 people coming into that position. Worst case, people get really concerned about this. It almost never happens. But what if they both turn out to be amazing, right? And you're already halfway through the month. I'm like, hey, Gus, I only have budget for this much. I gotta pick one. Guys, imagine what an amazing phone call it would be to call your buddy realtor in the next office, your best friend in the other brokerage, and go, bro, I have an amazing assistant, ISA, buyer's agent, whatever it is that you need to hire. Because I brought 2 in, and guess what? I hit the lottery. They're both great. And I'm just going to pick one, but you really should hire this next person. I mean, talent is going to be employed. Talent is going to be employed. So help that person out and find them the next position. I mean, you think that person's going to appreciate that? That you went through the interview process and got them in there and vetted them and they're looking great so far. You basically gave that person $1,000, $5,000 of your time and the other person's time and the whole process, right? So I wouldn't mind that. I would love that. And I'm going to remember that, right? So worst case, find the other person another job. Or best case, find another job in your company. Like, hey, maybe you need 2 marketing assistants. You need a transaction. I mean, maybe move forward if you're able to. But guys, trust me, this does not happen very often. But that is the absolute worst case. You're going to endear yourself to someone you know, like and trust, right? So that's the worst thing that can happen by bringing 2 people into the position and they both work out great, right? So that is a big part of it. One of the things, in this process we just talked about, that can lead people astray, that can throw you off course, right, is what I talked about at the very beginning, this problem that my client had, right, my coaching client. He said, Gus, I'm talking to people, but he was doing something really interesting. He was looking at the resume, length of resume, and almost organizing the candidates like them. Oh, this one has the best resume, like the second best of the block, but he meant really long resume, not really best. I mean, best is subjective. He was really putting it by the length of the resume. The best candidate, the second best, the third best. And he would talk to them and he would ask them about all this experience. Oh, he got the experience here. And they go, yeah, I do. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. This is exactly what I need. Wow. I love. And he would do this to such an extent, Long, that the candidates would pick up on this. Candidates are smart, right? Like, hey, and they would negotiate a higher starting salary for him in most cases. It was like, well, and he would agree to that. Okay, great. No, he's got all this experience. Let's make it happen. Yeah, for sure. Sure. You're gonna save me a bunch of time for training and everything, right? Great, awesome. And this client was continuously, again, the position was marketing assistant, right? Marketing assistant, which we kind of assume is kind of a straightforward position to hire for. Well, not necessarily, right? And he would continuously be disappointed with people, right? They were not delivering on the expectation. There would be a lot of pushback. There were issues. And the number one thing I told them was, I want you to put the resume away for a minute, right? I think the resume is good to see maybe someone's history, maybe come up with better questions at the interview, ask them about prior experience. You can get some good stuff on it. What I would never do for an entry-level position is like stack rank people on their experience, right? I think you're reading it the wrong way. What we've seen, when someone comes in as an experienced candidate, it's a coin toss, Long, right? They might have the right experience. They might have the wrong experience, right? They might have not done things the way we want to do them on that other team with that other company. They might be more set in their ways. Like, no, I know how to do things the right way. They might not be coachable. That's a red flag. It's a deal breaker for us. If you're not coachable, and we're bringing you in because you know all these things from your past position, and you're not open to suggestions, to changing, to improving, then we absolutely can't have you here, right? right? It doesn't matter what you did in that other company. You don't want to do what we do here, right? Which is the most important piece. The most important piece. I think that is really, really tricky. And in real estate, it answers the question why so many folks in the buyer's agent role are new to real estate, right? Because, if you think about it, Long, when you're hiring a buyer's agent, you would look at the most experienced buyer's agent in your area and hire them, obviously, right? Well, it rarely works out that way. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever thought about that. Why does not work out? Why do you always hire the experienced agent? That'd be like a no-brainer, right? Well, number one, they might be solo and they want to stay solo. That's number one. That's usually the biggest blocker. They don't want to buy into the team. They don't want to buy into the value of the team. They don't want to buy into the offer of the team. So it's a non-starter from step number one. And number two, they might be coming in because they're not successful and it might be set in their way. That's another risk, right? So there's a big reason why some of these such important roles in real estate are filled continuously by people that are new to real estate. They're willing to learn. A lot of times when someone's new to the role, they are much more willing to learn and they are much more coachable, teachable than, again, I'm broadly generalizing. Of course, there's exceptions every day, everywhere, for sure. I'm telling you the experience I have from hiring hundreds of people, hundreds of people. People with experience is no guarantee, and it can lead you astray. For me, I do what I call skill-based hiring, not experience-based hiring. That's what we're talking about. We're finally to the skills versus experience question, right? That's what I mean. I am going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I want you to show me the skill. I'm not going to take it for granted from your resume. I think that's the wrong thing to do. I am never going to assume someone knows something or someone can do something until I see it with my very eyes. I think it's more fair to the person, and I think it's a better practice as a business owner.
So I love that. So before you go into spending the skill, which I totally agree with you, because the experience just show there's some matching what you're looking for, right? But the skill is, can they actually do the job when you bring them on? Because so many times you thought on paper you look qualified, you interview well, but
they have the best resume. They have the best resume. What is that? I mean, they've worked for all these real estate teams. Well, number one, that might not be a good thing. They're switching real estate teams every 6 months. I mean, but again, even if that's true, right? They might not have the right skill set that you want. They might not have the right culture that you want. They might have, I like to call it, the wrong experience. They have a bunch of experience. It might be the wrong experience. They might not be bought into the team model. That's a huge red flag for me, right? If they're not bought into as a real estate agent, I mean, I ran a team in Seattle for years. If I had a buyer's agent that wasn't fully convinced of the team model, there was zero chance they were going to be successful. It's a zero chance. It's just not going to work out. They're not going to be happy with their compensation. They're going to be unhappy with how the team works. They want to go do their own thing. Bless them, right? That's the best thing for them to do. And for me, it was a much easier conversation to have to someone that was new to the role, that had not done that role before. And sometimes career changes, right? Oh my goodness, real estate is, full of folks that are making that career change. I'm an engineer by training, right? I came from Microsoft before I got into real estate. That's kind of a big leap of faith, right? But again, if someone looked at my resume, they go, "You're nuts. This is not a good fit." If someone would have looked at my resume, if they would have put me in the room, put me on the phone, I'm a beast on the phone. I'm really good at that, right? So but they had to have given me a chance, right? They had to have given me a chance first, and kind of not put too much weight on that resume, on that quote unquote experience. Because on paper, I should have been the worst real estate agent ever in Seattle, like ever, right? Because zero sales experience, zero customer experience, zero business experience. And I went to real estate at the age of 32, right? So not a young guy in real estate terms. There's a lot of people I see that are in their real estate at 18, 19, 20, right? So not a young guy, not everything. But the skill set was there. It was misused in software. You never know why, but the skill set is there. And that is the recommendation I give people. Find a way to allow people to demonstrate their skills and then make the decision.
All right, let's go to it. Tell us how to determine that.
Yeah, and that is what those first 30 days are all about. The first 30 days.
Okay, so that was my part of my question.
The second half of the interview are those first 30 days. Then, so try to fake something for a couple days long. It's got to be hard. Try to fake it for a few weeks, even harder. Try to fake it and you're doing the work. They're asking you to do the work day in and day out. You're going to be way more successful at day 30 saying, okay, did they qualify for that job? Did they earn the right to be on your team? Did they earn the right to be on your team? They're on trial for the first 30 days.
Yeah. So we do that. Do you recommend that? So you recommend that because we do that because we call them a probation period. So do you set that expectation up front, or do you just check them out on the 30 days and not let them know?
Number one, we tell them this is the interview. The formal interview is the first step. The second part of the interview is you doing the job on our team. That's the second part of the interview, and discovering your skill set, your teachability, your coachability. They're going to be bad at it long. They're not going to be great. I mean, they're going to suck at this job probably, right? But that's not the important thing. The important thing is you teach them, you fix it, you correct it, and did they get better the next week, right? Did they get better, even better the following week? Right? Because sometimes people are just terrible the first few days. They're in sales. If they're in sales, they're going to suck at it, guys. If they've never been in sales, they're not going to be good. They're going to sound awful on the phone. The most important thing, are they showing improvement on week 2, on week 3, on week 4? That improve. It's not. It almost doesn't matter where they start. It matters how quickly can they get better from wherever they started. But they're all probably going to be bad. But I'm telling you this. It's almost more important how much they advance in those 30 days than where they actually are at the end, because they're just going to keep getting better, right? So people might not be great at it from the start, but if they can get good, then you really want them on your team, because they are going to be grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, because of the growth mindset, right? They got to keep learning to grow. They can't come in and be the best guy, but then can't grow it all with you. So it's not good. But let me ask you this:
it's almost bad. When they come in and they set an appointment the first day. It's like, okay, well, they're gonna think this is easy, and it's not, right? It's a false signal almost, right? So I hate it when it happens, actually. Yeah. But what's the question, Mo?
So let me ask you this: you are very good at what you do. I can tell. Many of our listeners may not be as polished as you. One thing that I believe I do a lot interviewing and
I kind of lost you there.
I think one of the skills, are you back? Are you good?
Okay. I'm back.
So one of the skills I think most people don't realize as an interviewer is you got to do a good job of explaining and selling your vision and your company for them to buy in, to make that change, knowing the risk that in 30 days, they don't pass that, probation period, you might let them go. So that's a skill I don't think people understand enough, that you interviewing somebody, but they're kind of interviewing you too. They got to buy in the opportunity you give them. Can you chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, 100%. And I got into that because, you have to make them. So what we recommend is you do the interview and then you make them an offer. This is an offer conversation, right? This is like you've interviewed them, they check all the right marks, they feel good about it. You've got to send them an offer, and not just have a conversation. Send them a formal offer. This is what you're offering, and explain the terms. And you have to sell them on that offer. This is like real estate. I love the way you phrased it at the beginning line, like, hey, you're recruiting customers, recruiting sellers and buyers and teammates. Absolutely, you're recruiting buyers, sellers, and teammates. You've got to sell them on your offer and why it's unbelievable for them, and it is the best opportunity. Sell them on the career in real estate. Sell them on the opportunity to be associated with you, a successful real estate agent. Sell them on the future, even if that initial offer is an entry-level position. You've got to think bigger than that, right? Show them growth, right? For example, again, I have a different scale now, but I can show new people, hey, my director of operations was on the phone 5-6 years ago. My sales manager was an ISA 5-6 years ago. I love hiring from within. I love promoting from within. Not just I love it, I've literally done it in my key hires, right? So, I mean, this is how we make this happen. This is how you grow within our team, within our company. And if you don't have those examples yet, make them aspirational. I want to promote from within. There's no one better on my team to promote than the people I know, like, and trust, and they work hard on my team. So, do you want to be on the team? Of course I do. And then you're going to have that conversation. But yeah, you should. It's like a listing presentation. It's like a buyer's presentation. It is a candidate offer presentation, not the interview. Interview is different. the offer, guys. You got to sell them on that offer. And that might be the end of the interview. It might be another call, a different call, right? Because may have to talk to a few different people. But you want to have that offer conversation. Now you got to sell them on the opportunity, right? And it's always useful in that interview process to ask them about what their goals are, right? Ask them about what they want, right? Ask, because usually it's, yes, compensation is important, but sometimes it's not just about the money, right? They actually want to build a career in real estate. They actually want to see a lot of deals. They want to be brought under your wing. They want to learn a bunch of these different things. Go for that, right? They're the same way a buyer and a seller might tease out reasons about their motivation. The candidates do the same thing. You want to understand that motivation and connect your offer with their motivation, their goals, their dreams, and their aspirations. That's the game. Easier said than done. Maybe that's what the next webinar is about, have that conversation. But you know, that is I'm glad you can focus on that. I can tell you've done this a lot long, because that is a key part of that process, getting them to buy in to your team, to your vision, and to your offer, into your offer. I'm not saying this to brag, but in my area, in my industry, I don't pay the most. I'm not the top in the salary chain. I don't need to be, right? Because I think I bring a lot to the table as a company, as a leader, as a teaching organization, as a career path. My managers, though, are the best paid in the industry, like bar none, right? Those people, I don't want them to go anywhere, right? But the entry level folks, we're competitive, but we're not top of the scale by any measure. We're not top of the scale. But I want people to see this as a great opportunity for them to join our company.
And I think that a lot of people who are listening might be a little overwhelmed of everything you kind of put together already. So we got a few minutes left. I'd like for you to kind of recap and summarize how simple the process is in this 3, 4, 5 step. And then I like to encourage, I'm sure you're going to tell them, I'd like to encourage them that you may not be very good the first time or second or third time, but unless you start doing it, you won't get any better, right? So, so go ahead and recap.
So, absolutely, yeah. Number one, you need to have enough candidates, cast a wide enough net. Number one, and we talked about the different sources that we use. We use those every day: database, Facebook groups, the job sites. Right? Very simple. You need to get to those 5 qualified candidates. Number 2, that interview and vetting process. Understand its limitations, folks. It's not the be all end all. We recommend half the process is the interview, because you want to look at their skills. You want to see if they're a good cultural fit. The other half, get in the room and do the job with you, right? The virtual room or the in-person room doesn't matter. Get them in there and see with your own eyes what they're able to do. Are they coachable? Are they teachable? Do they seem like a pleasant person, pleasant teammate, someone you want to work with? You'll know. I would say with like 90% certainty, you'll know in 30 days if that's the case. Then you make the final decision. And you want to make sure that we talked about before, you make that process very clear to them from the very start. That's part of the offer. That's part of the opportunity. And I think you're going to be way, way more successful. And for the folks that are struggling with this, it seems like it's overly complicated. How do I do this? How do I do that? The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. The more you do it, the better you will be. You're going to fill in these blanks on your own. You're going to figure these things out, right? It seems like it's magical. I've just done it a lot, and we do it over and over and over again every day, which is how we get so good at it. You can get good at it too. You just got to make sure you go through it, not just one time, right? You've got to go through it continuously as you grow your team. Your team is going to require you to get this skill. Otherwise, you're going to grow a team, then blow it up, fire everybody, grow another one, blow that one up, fire everybody. This is why you see these team blow ups. Part of that process doesn't work. Part of that hiring, training, managing process is broken.
So, of course, if you're not really sure, you're not confident, the great thing is, I believe you have a resource. They can sign up to get help and train and coach how to do this, correct?
100%. And this is an alternative. This is why Power ISA exists. We have a special offer for you folks. You can follow the link that they post in the group. If you want assistance with either the hiring, the training, or the managing of your ISA, this is very specific to the inside sales agent role. If you need help with any one of those things, not just all 3, right? All 3 as well. You should reach out to us and learn what we have to offer. If you already have an ISA on staff, we can help you with the training and managing of that ISA you already have on staff. if you're starting with no ISA, we can help you with that interview, vetting, and placement process as well. So we solve all of these things, but they're also solvable by people individually. But again, if you want to scale, you want that speed, you want that ease, we can definitely help out. Check out the offer that we have, powerisa.com/LCA.
All right. Well, I'd like to wrap up with one last question. Maybe you can give us some recommendation on. So we have my business partner, Mike Bonnier, and I in Minnesota, we have a real estate company called Realty Group. We have about 700 agents, right? So what we've seen is real estate professional, real estate agent go through kind of a couple of stages. The very first one, 85% of real estate agents fail, right? Within the first few years. Right. The first stage is consistent income. How can they figure out to make enough money to say, okay, this is what I do for a living, right? And then from there, the next stage is scaling. So at what point at the beginning, they have more time than money. So they're gonna do everything themselves. They wear every hat like you already mentioned, right? Making the call, doing the marketing assistant, data entry, everything.
Oh, come on, go there long. My bad.
At what point do you feel as a business owner for money for time?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really good question. That's a really good question. And I think part of it is going to be your appetite for risk. Because I've heard people want to have 6 months fixed expenses saved up, 3 months fixed expenses saved up. When I made my first hire, I think I had maybe 1 month of fixed expenses saved up, right? So I think the real answer is, what's your appetite for risk? What's your tolerance for failure? My tolerance for, when I became a real estate agent, I moved out of my big Microsoft house and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. I had 12 months of runway, right? At the beginning. But when I made my first hire, I'm like, hey, I'm going to put in my business account a month of salary for the person. Let's go. Like that, let's figure this out, right? Because I knew it was such an important skill to build, right? Let's get it done. Let's make it happen, right? So, I mean, for me, that risk tolerance was very high because I knew my likelihood of failure was also very high, right? So I gotta get started somewhere. I totally understand someone that wants to have 3 months salary saved up before they hire someone. I understand that. I get it. I think 1 month in the bank of salary is minimum, and 3 months is a little expensive. 6 months is like, whoa, you really want to be really safe. But it's all about your tolerance of risk, tolerance of failure. Long, you got to fail fast in this business, right? You got to figure out these things. And there's things that can mitigate your risk. You can have like a training salary, right? You don't put them on full salary at the beginning. That's what we do. We put them on partial salary as they're training. And if they graduate early, they'll get full salary early, right? So we set that expectation that the first few weeks, yeah, you're going to be in a training salary, but it's temporary. We're putting a lot of this effort and resources to train you. So, and some people get that, they understand it, right? So that's also important, telling them on that, right? That making sure they understand that and they get it and they see why it's important.
Okay, so for those who missed this or who didn't get to see it or want to listen to this again, subscribe to the YouTube channel here to watch it. But I would like to say one departing thing, and then I'd like you to say one last thing before we wrap up, okay? One thing that we have here at Realty Group, we call them the circle of life, like life. What's life all about? L-I-F-E, life. For us, it's learn. Many of you guys have learned what Gus have taken his valuable time to share, by the way. Thank you very much. All the secret and the time. But most of you don't implement. It doesn't really matter. I is implement, okay? If you learn, you don't implement, it does not matter. But when you do implement, you should also expect to fail. You have said that many times because you will fail more than you will succeed when you try something else, right? That's a tolerant, risk tolerant. And then the last thing is you only learn when you fail, which is evolve. You evolve more than when you fail. So life to us is learn, implement, fail, evolve. I want to encourage all you listeners out there that everything you've learned from Gus now, go implement it. And then guess what? Expect to fail because that's when you're going to evolve and get better at this. So any departing word from you, sir?
Yeah, no, I think you ended it great. That's exactly what to do it. That's how you're going to get great at any given skill, particularly such an important one and such a difficult one as bringing on great people to your team. So I love that. Thanks, Paul.
Well, thank you very much for being on here with us. Thank you, everybody, for being on here, and have a great and awesome, wonderful day.